Welcome back to Tuning into Ukraine, where we break down the latest developments in Ukraine and the global battle for truth. Today we're diving into the recent wave of disinformation targeting President Zelensky and the intensified push for so-called peace talks that could be disastrous for Ukraine. Let's separate fact from fiction. If you want to learn more about the subject, please continue watching this video and subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss our videos in the future. Over the past few weeks, Russian propaganda has ramped up its efforts to delegitimize Ukraine's leadership. Terms like illegitimate president and dictator are being pushed heavily, and not just by Kremlin-backed channels, but by certain far-right politicians and media figures in the West. This is not a coincidence, it's a strategy. President Zelensky has warned that any negotiations between the US and Russia without Ukraine's involvement would be very dangerous for everyone. Why? Because Russia isn't interested in real negotiations. As long as they believe they hold a battlefield advantage, they see talks as a sign of weakness. Any so-called peace deal that ignores Ukraine's interest would only serve Moscow's agenda. President Donald Trump recently claimed that very serious discussions between American and Russian officials have taken place regarding an end to the war. Yet no details were provided. Meanwhile, Trump's allies are pushing narratives that align with Russia's interests, suggesting Ukraine must make concessions and even hold elections during wartime, despite the fact that martial law prevents this. Donald Trump's special envoy to Ukraine and Russia, Keith Kellogg, recently stated that Ukraine must hold presidential and parliamentary elections, especially if a ceasefire is reached. According to him, most democratic nations have elections in the times of war. Can you name one democratic country that has held elections during wartime in the last 200 years? Exactly. It's a completely different reality to have a war in the digital age. As Ukrainian diplomat Roman Besmertny pointed out, Russia's hybrid war isn't just fought on the battlefield, it's fought in the media too. The goal? To convince the world that Ukraine's government is illegitimate and that it should be forced into a deal that benefits the Kremlin. This includes claims that Zelensky has banned religious groups and oppresses Christians, a narrative being amplified by US far-right media personalities. Take Tucker Carlson, for example. He recently labeled Zelensky a dictator and falsely claimed that he banned people's native language and books. This is a complete distortion of reality. Carlson has a history of pushing Russian narratives, and this is just the latest attempt to erode support for Ukraine. And it's not just in the US. In Romania, far-right politician Călin Georgescu has openly suggested that Ukraine is a fictional state and that its territory should be partitioned. He's echoing Russian propaganda almost word for word. And let's be clear, this is exactly what Russia wants: for Ukraine's allies to turn against it and for international unity to crumble. Even some Western officials are being swayed by these misleading narratives. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio recently questioned Ukraine's future, citing the destruction caused by Russia. Zelensky responded by inviting him to visit Ukraine and see firsthand both the devastation and the resilience of the Ukrainian people. Meanwhile, former Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko has also strongly opposed holding elections during wartime. He made it clear, doing so would only serve Russia's interests by fueling division and weakening Ukraine from within. So let's connect the dots. The claims that Zelensky is a dictator, a lie. Just ask any Ukrainian you know. The push for negotiations on Russia's terms? A trap. The attempt to delegitimize Ukraine's government? Part of a well-coordinated disinformation campaign. The goal is clear: weaken Ukraine, fracture its allies, and force a peace that benefits only the Kremlin. That's why it's more important than ever to challenge misinformation. Share this video, subscribe for more updates, and let's keep exposing the truth. Ukraine's future depends on it. See you next time.